Two dams burst in Inner Mongolia. Is corruption to blame? Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. In July, you heard about the massive, deadly floods across China's Henan province. And last Wednesday, I showed you how the Chinese Communist Party put the blame where it really belonged, on foreigners. But there was another natural/man-made disaster in July that got a lot less coverage. In China's Inner Mongolia province, two dams collapsed after torrential rain. Yes, we see it. It's kind of hard to miss. The two dams that broke are called the Yong'an Reservoir and the Xinfa Reservoir. They're both in the prefecture of Inner Mongolia called Hulunbuir. The local government reported on WeChat that everyone living downstream was safely evacuated. Over 16,000 people were affected, but no casualties were reported. Thank goodness no one died, according to government officials who would otherwise be held responsible. Videos shared online show water drenching houses and destroying farmland. But while naturally occurring heavy rains triggered flooding, the dams should not have burst. The Xinfa Reservoir and Yong'an Reservoir were reportedly reinforced in November 2016. But anyone familiar with Chinese tofu dreg construction knows that sometimes maintenance projects are not done up to standard because corrupt people cut corners to skim money. And anyone familiar with Chinese inspections knows that sometimes the inspectors can be bribed to look the other way. One official addressed this by saying, "Most of China's dams are managed by authorities at the grassroots level who are sometimes incapable of handling the maintenance work." Right, incapable is the word. And on top of that, some of the dams in China are just really old. The same Chinese officials said more than 80% of the dams in China were built from the 1950s to 1970s, and many of them have exceeded their design service life. Why not just fix or replace them? Well, according to China's Deputy Water Resources Minister, a lack of financial resources means that nearly a third of the total number have not had mandatory safety appraisals completed. You see, the Chinese government wants to keep its citizens safe, but they just don't have enough money to repair all the dams, after loaning out hundreds of billions of dollars to build infrastructure in other countries. Now that's a damn shame. And now it's time for me to answer a question from one of you, a fan who supports China Uncensored by contributing through the crowdfunding website Patreon. That Jason down the road asks, question, if CCP officials for some reason took responsibility for anything bad that happened to China, would their heads spontaneously combust due to violating their extreme doublethink? Well, that's a great question. Not about their heads exploding, but about taking responsibility. Fortunately, Uncle Bill, who also is a Patreon supporter, seems to have answered your question. Plan A, censor it so there is nothing to be responsible for. Plan B, blame foreign powers and stoke nationalism. Plan C, blame a group of citizens and crush dissent. Plan D, blame local government and save face. As you see with so many plans, there is never a reason to take responsibility. That's a good answer. In 7 decades of ruling China, the Chinese Communist Party has never taken responsibility. As you saw in this episode, one government official chose Plan D and blamed local officials for being incapable of handling the repair work. Even when Chinese state-run media finally admitted the Cultural Revolution of the 1960s was a total mistake, all they were saying is that it was a mistake. It's easy to blame Mao's Gang of Four since they're all dead now. Those people 50 years ago, they made mistakes. But this admission is still within Plan C, blame a group of citizens. The Chinese Communist Party itself could never actually be responsible. I mean, how could communist ideology ever push people to torture and murder each other? Ridiculous. Thanks, Jason, for your question and your support, and Uncle Bill for answering it for me. And also a big thank you to everyone who supports China Uncensored on Patreon. We could not do this show without your direct support, since so many of our episodes get censored or demonetized. If you're interested in supporting us, head over to patreon.com/China Uncensored. You'll get a bunch of cool perks, including the chance to have me answer your questions on the show. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.